Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny. One does not simply eat chocolate without wearing it. This is Trevin.
And I'm Amanda. Wearing chocolate. I haven't done that in quite some time.
Oh, I wear it all the time.
Do ya?
Emily and I were having a conversation with somebody, another couple. I can't remember who it was. It might have been you. And Emily was talking about how I always have chocolate stains on my house shirts and stuff. And my way of coming back on it was, well, it's only because I'm laying down when I'm eating it.
I think I did hear that conversation.
That might have been at your party. It felt like such a sitcom moment because I legit thought, owned her. Yeah, that's why it happens. Like, that's normal.
Oh my God, Trevin. So what is your dreadful dilemma?
My dreadful dilemma this week has to do with my car issues. You know, I don't think that we ever actually told our listeners that I got a new car.
Oh, did we not?
Because I think I left it kind of hanging and then we started talking about wedding stuff.
Okay. A lot has happened.
Yes. I think I left it with just I didn't know how long my car would be in the shop. It's currently still in the shop. I knew this was going to happen. After the episode where I told you all about my car, I actually bought a car like 2 days after that because I just knew not to take the gamble. So I got a new car. I have a 2019 Honda Civic, and it's some sporty version because I love hatchbacks.
Okay.
They just have a thing for them. I don't even move that much stuff around, but for some reason, the easy access is cool. And I like the big hump on the back. I don't know why.
You like a car with some curves, Trevin.
Oh, mama. So this particular Honda Civic, I think the hatchback version only comes in the sporty version. You can't just get a normal hatchback. You have to get like the nice one. So I came across one. I looked at it. I'm like, whoa, this car is too nice.
Oh my God.
Because it is the sporty one. It's got the black chrome wheels. It's already tinted. It's got the sunroof, stuff that I just should not be trusted with.
It has AC.
Ooh, boy, does it have AC.
Oh, boy.
This was going to be a dilemma anyway. I was just going to say I don't feel very cool driving my car.
You don't?
Sorry, I feel really cool, but I feel like I don't belong in it.
Oh, gosh.
Like those
okay.
movies where you see like a Maserati or something and it opens up and it's just a little nerd. But he like probably invented the computer or something. People keep trying to race me because I look like somebody who wants to race in this car.
So has it happened more than the 2 times you've told me about?
It's happened one other time.
No way! So 3 times people have tried to race you?
Yes. And all I'm trying to do is mind my own business. There was a truck that I used to always go with on the way to work every day. We go almost the same exact place. And he drives a big black truck that has a Venom sticker across the back, like the superhero Venom.
Oh, God.
And I always had a Fiesta, a little red car, that had the Captain America shield on the back.
Good versus evil all the way to work.
And so I think we both were just like, hey, comic people, cool. Even though he had a very souped up giant truck. So him and I probably wouldn't really get along, but we were always cool. So I get this car. I'm at a red light with him and he's revving up at me. And the second the light goes green, he's dragging off.
Oh my God. And correct me if I'm mistaken, because we have gone to multiple parties and had multiple conversations lately.
Truth.
But I remember that this took place on a not so busy road either, right?
Correct. It was
Okay.
a 40 mile per hour road.
Yeah. What?
Like, I'm not going to do that anyway.
That's like filled with stoplights. That is not a good racing place, but whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't a great stretch, but he really tried it. And he doesn't know that I'm the same guy from the little car that we always saw each other on the way home.
Oh, that's actually kind of sad.
He saw me as competition.
Oh my God.
So that's my dilemma is I don't like what the reputation that comes with this car is.
Okay, and let me ask you this too. have the people at your office said anything about your new car as well?
Everybody noticed it right away.
Because you say they always can spot a car in the parking lot.
Not only that, I'll do you one better. They all recognized the car, but we had this issue where I wasn't able to get my plates on time. So I told the dealership, I said, give me some dealer plates to get me by until I can get this thing licensed. I had the dealer plates on that car for 2 days. On the first day, my friend was like, oh, I see you got dealer plates on that thing.
Oh my God.
That was after I had the car for like a week. This wasn't the first time he saw the car.
Right.
He had seen the car and just clocked that the license plate changed.
Why are people examining vehicles that closely? Am I totally out of the loop here or what?
I think it's a masculine Midwest thing.
Okay. Tell us what you guys think, listeners. I need to know.
Yeah, but they know everybody by their car. Even when it's a person who just started, they're like, oh, they're the ones that drives the little silver Jeep? Okay, yep.
Oh my God, that is so strange. Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of has to do with how I am perceived as well, Trevin. So similar-ish. We are recording this the day after Halloween. And my family dressed up as the Nightmare Before Christmas cast. So I was Jack Skellington. And first of all, before I go into it, this was my daughter's idea. My 5-year-old Lila, she picked everything out for us. So I was Jack, she was Sally, Jordan was Santa, and Winnie was a little baby Oogie Boogie Man.
Which is my favorite. My favorite character, and I just love the costume.
The costume was surprisingly adorable.
Mm-hmm.
But my dilemma with the whole thing is that I got really into the makeup with myself and Lila. I got so into the makeup, in fact, that it terrified my 1-year-old Winnie. She didn't want to hug me when she saw me. She didn't want me to carry her. In the picture I posted, you're like, oh, little Oogie Boogie looks sad. No, she is scared of her mama. She is scared. She is cold. She's confused. But immediately when I took all the face paint off, she just was clinging to me, Trevin. I mean, she couldn't get enough.
You turned into a monster for a short amount of time.
Yeah. It was honestly like she hadn't seen me in years and couldn't get close enough to me. I was like, I'm so sorry, baby.
I guess that is kind of like, peekaboo, children can't figure out you didn't just disappear or whatever.
Yeah.
So if it's your voice and everything else but the face is different, that's probably some sort of gaslighting.
Oh, yeah. She was very confused. She knew it was me, but my face looked scary.
Yeah.
It was honestly kind of funny, and just how the switch flipped as soon as I took it off.
It's like those old viral videos of the men who shaved their beards and then would go to the baby and the baby would freak out.
And Jordan has done that a couple times. But anyway, before we jump into our segments and everything, I did want to give a couple quick listener shout outs today. I'm going to start, Trevin, you sent me this screenshot from a listener today. And it looks like this is from Instagram. This is a listener named Bobby. And I just wanted to read this message because it was kind of a really interesting follow-up fact. I recently discussed mort safes as my killer fact, and this was a response we got back that I really thought was cool. Hi, Amanda and Trevin. Just listening to your latest episode. I'm from Dundee, Scotland, and in our old graveyards and cemeteries, there are still mort safe graves, both stone slab and metal cage. There is one in the Howth, a very old cemetery in Dundee city center that is a stone slab mini tomb that has an iron cage frame securing it. As a kid, I found this creepy AF. Don't blame you, Bobby. My God.
Yeah.
It goes on, like giving us recommendations of like all these cool stories from the Scotland area. And I just thought it was so cool because we specifically said, is there anyone out there that has a story? And apparently, yeah, they're still out there.
And if I'm honest, I didn't think we even did.
Oh, I know. I was like, do we have a listener in Scotland? Bing. We did.
Wow. Thank you, Bobby.
Yes, thank you.
And I actually want to give a thank you to Liberty Hill Bakery. They had sent in some vegan cookies to us a while back, and car stuff, wedding stuff. Totally didn't get around to say anything about it. They were delicious. Wanted to say thank you so much for sending that. And if you are in the I don't know if that's an area. Liberty Hill, Texas. I know it's Texas.
Ooh, okay. I wasn't for sure where they were from. Okay, Texas.
Yeah, if you're in that area, give Liberty Hill a try. Even if you're not into vegan stuff, I still thought it was great.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sorry we didn't give you a shout out sooner. It has been very busy around these parts.
Mm-hmm.
So today we are going to be doing a round of 2 truths and a lie.
I've got 3 wires. Which one do I cut?
I'll give you 2 truths and a lie.
But wait, we don't have time for this.
So, Trevin, how do you feel about the actor Sean Penn?
He's fine. I don't have a problem with him, but he's not an actor that really stuck with me. I'm not even sure what my favorite Sean Penn movie would be.
To be fair, I did completely put you on the spot with that.
You really did. Let's say Fast Times is my favorite.
Okay, see, I don't have a favorite either. What I'm here to discuss today are 2 truths and a lie about the media versus actor Sean Penn. So I'm going to read you 3 statements. You tell me which one is the lie.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
Statement number 1. He was arrested for throwing rocks at journalists. Statement number 2. He was arrested for hanging a photographer off a 9th floor balcony. Or statement number 3. He was arrested for grabbing a paparazzi's rear end.
I don't know that much about his drama either.
I know, this is kind of a random character for both of us. But let me tell you, I wanted to do a 2 truths and a lie about paparazzi. I don't know why, okay? And then I somehow stumbled upon crazy celeb paparazzi stories. And then Sean Penn was just the gift that kept on giving. So much so that I just made the whole thing about him.
Okay, so he's sort of a synonymous person with
Yes,
this.
there have been lots of these reports.
Okay, I'm going to go with A, he did not do the rocks one.
Okay. And you're incorrect.
I figured.
He did. So statement number 1 is a fact. Before I jump in, I got all this information from a really cool article called thethings.com. Thethings.com. And let me just say, they talk about all the things.
I respect it.
In 1985, the actor was arrested after attacking 2 journalists. Their names were Lawrence and Ian with a rock. They said that Sean Penn said, "No pictures. You take my picture and I'll break your back with this rock." They said that he used profanity. When they asked him what the problem was, he came up, threw the rock at one of the men, hit him in the middle of the back with great force, and Sean Penn was arrested. He was later freed on a $500 bond.
Okay. These could have been stories.
I know! Statement number 2. The following year, 1986, Penn became involved in another altercation while he was in Macau? Basically, Sean Penn was dating Madonna in the 80s, and they were a big couple that everyone was trying to get content of, pictures of, the dirt on, okay? So apparently, they found a photographer in their hotel room, which Sean Penn assumed to be an intruder. Honest to God, can't really fault the guy for that one.
I mean, that is illegal.
While walking into his hotel, Penn recalled how the intruder lunged at him. With the help of his personal assistant, the actor grabbed the guy, ran him through the room to the balcony, and hung him over on the 9th floor.
That's risky. I would never. Oh, that would be so scary. What if you just slipped and, just let go?
I don't think he cared in the moment.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
He seems like he's a man who is not afraid of altercation or confrontation.
That's fair.
Not saying I know much about this guy, but just based on all this. So statement 3 is the lie. He wasn't charged for grabbing someone's booty that I have been able to find, okay?
I should have known it was butts. You were just thinking about him.
I just can't get butts off of the mind.
I hear you.
However, I did want to share another thing that he did, and this one's a little more recent, because the first 2 statements, those happened in the 80s. In 2010, Sean Penn was charged with battery and vandalism after another run-in with the paparazzi. This time around, the incident was captured on video by TMZ. The actor could be heard yelling, "Get out," while kicking the photographer.
Okay, yeah, he definitely is like the guy who goes along with him. The peanut butter and jelly, him and paparazzi.
Yes. So apparently he does not like the media up in his grill.
And, that really does go well with our petty stuff.
I know. Could you blame me? This is like gold content here.
Yeah, because of the show we have, we should probably like him more.
Right? I know.
Well, I like that, and now I'm actually going to look more into his filmography and follow him a little closer.
Me too.
Now.
Apparently, we need to befriend him.
I am going to talk about something that I actually know a lot about.
Ooh, what?
Something that I spend a lot of time with intimately, and that's chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you 2 truths and a lie about chocolate.
Okay, I'm ready.
Statement number 1. The Supreme Court recently ruled in a case allowing major chocolate brands to profit off forced child labor. Statement number 2. The dessert Death by Chocolate was named after the creator's apprentice who suddenly passed. Or statement number 3. The founder of Ghirardelli once dug up and stole bodies from a cemetery.
What the hell? Okay, I was not ready. For some reason, I think B is the lie.
And you are correct.
Yes! Ding, 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 ding.
So the dessert Death by Chocolate was not named after the creator's apprentice. Are you familiar with Death by Chocolate?
I don't know. I've heard that phrase, but is that like an actual brand?
It's a super chocolatey dessert. I'm looking off of, it's a Squarespace. It's called The Trellis is the website. And this is the explanation of what Death by Chocolate is.
Okay.
Death by Chocolate is a 3-day endeavor consisting of a 7-layer chocolate torte. The decadence begins with layers of moist chocolate cake, dark chocolate ganache, crunchy chocolate meringue, and an airy chocolate mousse. The cake is then coated in a glaze of dark chocolate and served on a pool of chocolate sauce with house-made milk chocolate ice cream. Topped with hand-rolled white chocolate truffle and finally dusted with white chocolate powder.
Okay, this is a menu item?
Yeah, I guess it doesn't say when it was invented, but it's invented by a chef named Marcel Desaulniers.
Well, I approve.
It looks so good.
Oh my God.
Which we're getting way off track because that was the lie, but it's a real thing and it's beautiful.
I just felt like, sure, maybe that could have been true because I've heard of Stranger Things, but that seemed very insensitive to be like, well, my apprentice died.
Yeah, took me a while to come up with something wild enough to even match this other stuff.
Yeah.
So let's get into the real stuff.
Okay.
The Supreme Court did recently allow big chocolate brands to get away with having this child labor stuff. Now, here's the case. 3/4 of the world's chocolate or cacao comes from Africa. And so what the deal is, they know that's like their biggest export. So there's a lot of plantation type places that force children into labor where they just pull these cacao beans for little money or no money.
Damn.
So some dudes had escaped from one of them and came to America and was like, hey, I was trafficked here. This is wrong. I didn't get paid. And Nestle and all your other companies, like pretty much everybody, is buying this. And basically the way it all turned out was that's okay because they're not the ones doing it.
Wow.
But the kicker is that Nestle has headquarters in Africa, not far from there, where they give these people training and they give them supplies and stuff, because that's who they buy from. So it's like they do everything they can, but it's that one little bit that they can say they don't do it.
Yeah.
And after the courts said this was okay, then they all go public and say like, we are so anti this and we need to stop this and we can't control what happens there.
Oh my God.
Don't want to get too political, but I thought that was crazy.
That is crazy talk.
And then the other one, the founder of Ghirardelli did dig up and steal bodies from a cemetery. And the story is a little more interesting because it's not just bodies, it's his relatives' bodies.
Oh, no.
So Domingo Ghirardelli, he was an Italian chocolatier, and he moved to San Francisco after they started blowing up and being a big deal. I guess they had bought a family plot at the St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery, adjacent to Mountain View. According to local legend, Domingo Ghirardelli's young daughter, Aurelia, became gravely ill in 1879, and a priest refused to give her last rites. Thus, she died without receiving the sacraments. And so this really pissed him off. He forbade any member of his family to enter a Catholic church again because he was just so against the Catholic Church not helping him out. So in 1890, Domingo had the mausoleum that they already had at that Catholic church built at this Mountain View place, which I guess is like their next door neighbors. And then one night, he and his sons took a wagon to St. Mary's Cemetery, removed the 4 bodies from his family's tomb, and transported them to re-enter them into the new one in Mountain View to get them off that Catholic land.
Oh my God. Did he have to do it like that?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I mean, we're talking late 1800s. I don't know what the rules were with that, but I mean, I know if you were to go do that now, you'd get arrested, even if it was somebody you were related to.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's probably very similar. But if they know he did it, I don't see anything about him going to jail for it. So I don't know exactly how it all played out.
That is so wild. And I love Ghirardelli chocolate. Oh my God.
Yeah, the little bags and squares.
Oh,
and that came from mausoleums.com. I just wanted to make sure that was put on there.
Oh, okay. Those are some good recommendations for some websites to check out if you guys ever want to learn some new facts. But we also have some other recommendations in the form of ads.
Hey, everybody. I know we have a lot of regular true crime listeners out there, so I wanted to make sure you've heard of our friends, Crime Salad. Crime Salad is a true crime podcast hosted by Ashley and Ricky. Their mission is to prevent future tragedies from happening by identifying patterns of violence and domestic abuse. Join them while they investigate sudden disappearances, mysterious deaths, unsuspecting massacres, and more. I personally am a little picky with how I enjoy my true crime. If I'm going to have a serious topic, I like there to be good production behind it. Ashley and Ricky knock it out of the park each week with their production and music choices they put behind each story. So if you're looking for a new serious true crime show to listen to around our silly stuff, give Crime Salad a try. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts, and they release every Wednesday.
And we are back.
Welcome back.
Now, Trevin, before we jump into stories, it's been a while since we've really clarified how we do our news stories, especially if there's any new listeners or maybe just like a quick refresher thing.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
You guys will probably understand why I want to do this after I tell this story. But for anyone new, when we do a news story specifically, like we've said time and time again, there aren't very many articles. So most of the time we make up the backstory, but the crime itself is 100% true.
Right. What I always kind of think of is we are a parody show. Our stories are parodies of true crime shows. And so I like to think that our storytelling selves also take themselves way too seriously, just like the stories do. Mm-hmm. We're kind of parodying those unethical true crime shows that would really speculate heavily and kind of fill in the gaps with their own information. And we fill them in. We fill them in to the brim. And this is definitely one that I am giving my own flair to, as usual. But I just wanted to say that again, just as like a little reminder. I'm going to be really self-reflective here in stating that recently I was telling you, Trevin, that for this week's story, I was really struggling to be inspired. I've done a lot of writing lately, from wedding writing to murder mystery writing to writing for our show. And it was really, really taking me a beat to be like, what do I want to write about this week? It's in between holidays. It was a really confusing time, okay? But when I did stumble upon the story, I was reinvigorated with inspiration. And I haven't said this in a while, but it is a different way of telling a story, maybe a different type of story that I've ever told before. So with all of that damn buildup, here we go. Unfortunately for the criminals on our podcast, not all punishments fit their petty-ass crimes. We've shared injustices about innocent bus drivers accidentally eating THC gummies and blacking out on the side of the road, waking up only to have been charged with 38 counts of reckless endangerment. And recently, I told a story about a couple so in love, they accidentally stole $5 pumpkins, leaving them with a year of torment, trials, and fines. This tale is similar in the fact that the punishment may seem excessive at first glance, but with closer examination, things aren't always exactly as they appear. Connor Cato
was a man with a car, living in Savannah, Georgia in October 2023.
Cool car, bro.
But it wasn't just a car for Connor. This was his dream ride. He recently purchased a sporty Subaru WRX, painted an obnoxiously bright blue with sparkling chrome rims. Just looking at his car made Connor stand up a little straighter and walk a little prouder. Entering the vehicle, Connor put on his white-rimmed sunglasses with rainbow polarized lenses and started up the car's growling engine. He looked at his smug reflection in his rearview mirror and gripped his steering wheel, overlooking the small size of his hands. Hearing the purr of his motor made Connor wonder how the hell he had remained single all these years. But before he could even consider self-reflection, he peeled out of his driveway and on to the freeway. Connor had a bad habit of cranking up his car stereo way too loudly, which came across as super rude, especially when someone is trying to retell his story. Anyways, he continued down the road, bopping to music, when he got the all too familiar urge to speed. This was, after all, a main reason he purchased the vehicle in the first place. Connor stomped down on the gas as he let out a desperate-to-be manly howl and accelerated. He passed by old grannies. He soared past truck drivers and even whizzed past a mother running late.
Can't have candy, it's 9 a.m.
Connor laughed to himself as he weaved in and out of the traffic lanes, avoiding all road safety signs. He laughed and laughed until he sped by a police officer. Immediately, Connor pressed on his brakes, pulling over on the shoulder of the freeway. The officer and Connor had a pretty standard interaction, ending with the officer stating, "I pulled you over going 90 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. I'm definitely giving you a ticket today." Connor handled the news of the ticket pretty well, as this was not his first brush with the law. The officer walked back to his vehicle, and Connor scanned his ticket to see the damage done. His eyes continued to search for dollar signs when he saw the payment balance that read $1.4 million. Connor dropped his head onto the steering wheel, blaring his horn with his nose. After a moment of this, he regained his composure. Thinking this had to have been a mistake, Connor dialed the number to his local courthouse to sort it all out. Connor then retold his story of speeding and getting a ticket, adding in impressive details to the young woman on the other end of the line.
I was the fastest car on the road for sure.
But to his dismay, she remained unfazed by his swift driving or the fact that he owed $1.4 million. "This might be a typo," Connor suggested, ending his plea. However, the young woman thought differently, stating, "No, sir, you either pay the amount on the ticket or you can come to your court date," before hanging up. Connor gulped as he thought about the things he may have to do in order to pay off this enormous debt. He imagined selling his soul, jail time, or even losing his precious car. Tears welling up, he called a local lawyer to help him figure out what to do next. On September 2nd of 2023, Connor Cato was given a speeding ticket by Georgia State Police for driving 90 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. While the ticket exchange wasn't out of the ordinary, the payment balance of the $1,480,038.52 was. When Connor called his local courthouse and explained his large ticket balance, he was told to either pay the amount on the ticket or come to court on December 21st at 1:30 p.m. Connor then hired criminal defense attorney Sneh Patel, who was quoted by station WSAV saying, "I've never seen something like this, ever. I mean, I can't imagine someone would have to pay $1.4 million for not showing up for a speeding ticket. After some investigating, a spokesman for the city of Savannah also explained themselves in a statement, reading, "The balance reflected in the e-citation is a placeholder, not a fine. The fine for a super speeder ticket can only be set by a judge at the court appearance and cannot exceed $1,000, plus state-mandated costs. Since super speeders are required to go to court, the software automatically puts in a $999,999.99 base amount plus state-mandated costs. Recorder's Court is adjusting the language in e-citations in order to avoid future confusion." Because this story is so recent, Connor's court date has yet to happen. And although we don't know his fate, we know his fine won't be more than a few $100s, instead of being over $1 million. See what I mean about punishments not fitting the crime? It happens more often than we'd all like to admit. So pump your brakes and enjoy the drive of life. And also, maybe get a second opinion on enormous bills that will break the bank. You never know when a glitch in the software could be the difference between saving you $1 million or $2 million.
A million
here, $1 million there.
Well, that was a very interesting story. You really had me captivated for a second. The mystery, especially when they said deal with it, basically, I thought, why did this happen? So I was very interested in that. And also, your breaking of the third wall was great. I've always kind of thought about narrating, interacting with the story in some way, and I haven't quite figured it out. So that was great.
I have no idea what came over me. Like I said, I was at the point where I was like, how am I going to find a story? What the heck am I even inspired by at this moment? I'm just so tired. And then when I saw this, it wasn't even like I was searching for this. I just was looking up weird news at this point. Like it wasn't even crimes committed. I was just looking at funny, weird things, trying to inspire an idea. And that's when it was like, man, surprised by a, whatever I said, $1.4 million ticket. And I was like, okay, this is something we've never really done before, where it was kind of an error. A crime was still committed, but the punishment was like crazy. And now the way that they're describing it from their end was just like, that was just a placeholder number. I don't know why everyone's getting so worked up about it. And it's like, yeah, if I got a ticket that said that, and then I called them and they said tough shit, I would be freaking out too.
If that happened to me, I would probably disappear. Like people would be like, where'd Trevin go? And like I would change my name, grow a mustache, live somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it would all be because of a placeholder number looks so big that my life would have been ruined.
I'm sorry, but that is a life-changing and for most of us, an unachievable ask to pay for a speeding ticket, okay? Also, in Connor's defense, I made up everything about the man. I don't even have a picture of the guy. I have his name. I don't have his age. I don't have the make and model of his car, okay?
Oh, so you don't even know if he loved his car.
No.
Or if he had a cool one.
Just for me and just for fun, I wanted to make his character really douchey. I wanted him to be a douchebag that's speeding. I mean, he was going 90 in a 55, so that's kind of fast, even though I've been guilty. But I asked Jordan, I said, what is the douchiest car you can think of? And I'm so sorry if anyone listening has that car.
Honda Civic.
What was the car I gave?
I don't even remember you giving it. I just thought you said it was a nice car.
No, I said it was a Subaru WRX painted an obnoxiously bright blue.
Oh, okay.
That was his specific answer to me.
Probably just didn't connect with me because I'm not sure what that is.
No, it's okay. Look it up. It's a car that
Probably wants to race me.
he wants to race everyone. But yeah, I made everything up. He might be a nice guy. I just thought it would be funny and kind of throw off the scent if we're like, oh God, what'd this guy get into? You know? And then in the end, it's him that kind of got done dirty. And they're like, deal with it. It was just a number in the system.
Yeah, that was a great twist. That's kind of what I was thinking about too with the government in it. I would be afraid that if I waited for my court date, going in there would just be me accepting the cost.
I know.
So if I was him, I totally get why you'd be making those calls. I bet he didn't sleep that night.
Dude, he was probably freaking out. And those were all direct quotes from his lawyer, which Like I said, I don't know what this guy looks like at all. There were no videos of him. The only thing I heard from him directly was a brief audio clip being like, yeah, I tried. And he's explaining, like, I called the court and they said, tough shit, pay this or whatever. But his lawyer did a lot of interviews about this. And I hope I said his name correctly. It's a name I've never heard of before. But he was mind blown. He's like, I've never seen anything like this before. We thought it was just going to be a weird clerical error. And it turns out they're acting like it isn't. It's just like a whatever. But regardless, this whole crime at least got them to adjust that. So hopefully it won't happen to anyone else where they have a mini heart attack.
For sure. Hopefully he didn't use his own money to get a really expensive lawyer out of fear of what that cost.
I think he probably did.
And I don't know anything about lawyers, but I'm thinking, is he on the clock anytime he does an interview for you?
Oh, now that I don't know. Honestly, for lawyers, press like that is probably good for your business because it's like, ooh, this guy, I doubt they'd have to pay for that, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I don't either. I can't even imagine what seeing that number would be and like having it connected to my name.
And that was recent. That was just in October of this year as we're recording. That just happened. And his court date will be in December of this year.
Damn, well, if we hear more.
I know. I don't know why, but my story that I'm like, oh, if I ever heard an update, I just want the caricature thief found. That is a dangerous, dangerous person on the loose.
We dropped the ball on trying to help that one.
But this one, I am curious about what he's actually going to have to pay.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny that you have a recent story because last week I did a recent story and I've got another recent story this week.
Okay.
Totally sorry. I had 2 listeners actually reach out and say we should do this one. One being our friend Sarah, whom we just partied with.
Oh, nice. Hey, Sarah.
And the other was a listener that I'm sorry, I think you tagged us into a comment on a post about it and it got buried and I can't find it.
Oh, man, I hate it when that happens.
But the second I saw it, I said, yes, 100 times. Yes, going to do this story. Thank you.
Oh, my God. See, my thing is I've been meaning to go back through our Gmail and see if there's any stories that I've maybe overlooked again. That's my next thing.
Ooh, I'd feel terrible if there was.
I know. But you just never know.
Yeah. So let's just get into this thing. It's also recent, and I already know what our connection is going to be.
Oh, nice. I can just sit back and listen up.
Yeah. And here we go. We've talked a lot about food on this show. It's a pretty common part of what makes crimes petty. From the story of the police officer who kept taking coworkers' lunches, to the disgruntled employee who pissed directly onto the Kellogg's Corn Flakes conveyor belt. It is well documented that where there's food, there's crime. But instead of describing a delicious dish in a way that makes us all hungry, I want to focus more on the price of this stuff. Food is expensive. From the American wage gap to rising inflation rates, and even predatory restaurants charging an additional $1.50 for one slice of cheese, our human need to eat has been used against us for other people's gain. I mean, an hour of my hard-earned wages used to afford an entire meal. Not anymore. And don't even get me started on how expensive a trip to the grocery store is. With big hunger putting the squeeze on us eaters, it can leave us feeling pretty hopeless. Every time I get a craving for a burrito or some kind of indulgent meal, it's often followed by thoughts like, robbing a bank may not be too difficult. Or, I wonder if Mom would notice an entire ham missing from our freezer. The truth is, when scarce resources need to be carefully allocated, cutting corners and breaking rules tends to happen. With every creative and barely legal maneuver a massive company makes to get your money, a petty criminal is off somewhere ingeniously avoiding it. Like Newton's third law states, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This was of course about motion, but it works in the world of dining too. If a restaurant wants to charge me $25 for a meal with 2 sides, but charge me extra by calling waffle fries a premium side, then I am basically forced to put all of their silverware in my pants and take it home with me. It's only fair. Newton saw this coming over 300 years ago. In the spirit of this buildup, I want to give you another story about food. One that will break your heart, and also break the bank. So order whatever you want, as long as it's one item from the dollar menu. And let's meet our main character, shall we? Adis was a 50-year-old Lithuanian man living in Alicante, Spain. With its rustic architecture and scenic views, every moment spent in this Mediterranean paradise left Adis feeling like a king.
I am so fucking cool.
There was something about the port city's atmosphere that casted a strong sense of entitlement to anybody witnessing it. Every sun-kissed wave that crashed into the white sandy beach felt deliberate and perfectly designed, as if to say, "This was all created for you. Enjoy, you marvelous human." This was the message often heard by Adis. For Adis, living in a resort-like locale was a double-edged sword. Sure, watching whales play on his lunch breaks was a great experience, and literally every sunset gave him a screaming orgasm. But the prices. No mere mortal can survive living in paradise full-time. Not in this economy. Each week, a fresh set of faces would come to town, wearing their oversized white woman hats and sundresses, drinking wine by the water, and eating 5-star meals at any restaurant with a balcony. Adis would watch as the tourists progressively got more tan while slowly going down the checklist of cliched things to do in the area. By the end of the week, the happy travelers would disappear, only to be replaced with a similar tourist ready to do the exact same things.
Photograph my butt by the ocean.
The cycle was never ending. One after another, these sightseers came. Each time Adis would tell himself that he was going to eat a light meal or take it easy with his spending, a new tourist would walk by, prepared to go all out for the experience.
Yeah, we'll just take one of everything.
The FOMO was too much for him to bear. You see, Adis was a huge foodie. Hand-seared, oven-roasted, fresh-caught and wood-fired. All the buzzwords you can use to market a food, Adis was a sucker for. The sights and flavors of Alicante are what drew him in on his initial visit, but the cost of living was completely overlooked for the long term. After getting into his expensive apartment, Adis quickly realized that the only part of his home he could afford was the sights. There would be no more creme brulee, caviar, or lobster tail on the weekends. Those types of meals were reserved for special occasions now, making the life of luxury feel a lot less indulgent. Adis sat on the public patio, overlooking the Santa Barbara harbor. He deeply breathed in the misty air as he watched ships slowly disappear out of sight. "This is heaven," Adis said to himself before looking down at his plate. "This, however, is not heaven." Adis slowly pushed his poached hot dog and spaghetti-o tartare around on his plate, procrastinating his next bite. "This is not decadence," he yelled at his plate. "I command you to be delicious, you dumb wiener. I worked an extra shift to afford this parsley. The plate is perfectly balanced, as if it were crafted by God himself. But no matter how pretty I make this meal, it's still just an Oscar Mayer paired with a canned pasta." Adis dropped his fork and sunk his face into his hands. He listened to the waves and civilians moving around him.
Honey, let's go get a bottle of Barefoot and some bluefin tuna.
One tourist yelled to her husband, walking past Adis. "This is too much," he said to himself. "Heaven without the means to indulge is just hell wearing makeup. Plus, only a Spanish rose should go with bluefin tuna. That woman is an abomination." Adis looked around his preferred place of eating. There were bikini-clad models going down to the beach, children running through gatherings of birds, and lovers holding hands while overlooking balconies. It was a scene of lightsome bliss. He considered charging a 5-star meal to his credit card, but even that had reached its limit.
"You know what you must do, Adis,"
a voice echoed in his head. "No, I don't have to listen to you. I know who you are," Adis yelled.
"Yes, I am your hunger.
Your hunger for quality, for experience, for crime. You've done it before. Give in. Feed. Look at all of these fools walking around. They wouldn't know a quality wine and fish pairing if it slapped them with a smoked fin. Why should you let them have all the good food just because they're on vacation? You're the one who has to have cheese dinner sandwiches from this beautiful setting. You deserve this. Now feed." Adis immediately stood up from his sad excuse of a lunch and made a reservation at El Buen Comer. A couple hours later, Adis was wearing his finest designer outfit and sitting back at the best table in the house. He sipped on his whiskey drink, flashing mischievous looks towards women at the bar.
Hey, pretty lady.
He giggled at all the jokes his waitress made,
You're gonna pay for that, right?
and he ordered a seafood paella that was going to knock his tits off. This was the 5-star treatment, and the best part was, he didn't have to pay for it.
Yes, yes, just like all the other jobs.
Adis's inner hunger said,
Once we slurp up the rest of these clams, we can move to phase 2.
Adis quickly finished his plate while keeping a close eye on his waitress. The second she was out of sight, he jumped up and began to confidently walk towards the exit. As he reached for the front door, he was interrupted by a voice.
Hello, sir. Have you enjoyed dining with us?
The fancy host said.
I did, but I left my wallet in that hotel over there. I need to run and get it.
Adis responded.
I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot let you leave without paying for your food. Feel free to call someone, or I can call the police.
Adis stopped at the word police. He couldn't be caught like this. Not some snooty host with perfect hair. He thought about his options as he started to feel overwhelmed. He aggressively blurted into the air while clutching his chest.
My heart! It's coming to finish the job!
The host ran to help as Adis fell to the ground.
This is definitely a heart attack. I've got heart problems. The only way I'm going to survive is if I'm as far away from this restaurant as possible.
The host looked at Adis in disbelief, walking back to the restaurant phone.
Emergency number. You looking for police, ambulance, or fire?
The host cupped his hand to his mouth as he spoke softly into the phone.
Please send the police. I'm the manager of El Buen Comer, and I believe I have a man faking a heart attack to get out of paying a bill.
El Gastrojeta.
The operator ominously shouted.
Don't let him leave, and for God's sake, keep him far from the lobster tails.
In October of 2023, Alicante, Spain police received a call about a suspected scam involving a man faking a heart attack to avoid paying a $36 restaurant bill. When they arrived, they found 50-year-old Lithuanian man, Adis J., better known by the locals as the supervillain, El Gastrojeta. According to Spanish newspaper El País, El Gastrojeta was a serial scammer known for faking heart attacks at restaurants to score free meals. This arrest marked the 20th time in 2023 that El Gastrojeta had pulled one of his coronary cons. In a strange legal twist, this was not the first time Adis J. had been arrested for the El Gastrojeta scams. In fact, one of the arresting officers that day had arrested him multiple times before for the same crimes. A lawyer for the firm Navarra Sancho told The Sun, "He has taken advantage of the legal system. With such small fines unpaid, it's difficult to achieve a longer sentence in prison." According to multiple articles, Spain only considers these minor crimes due to the lower cost of the bills. Adis typically spends a couple nights in jail, ignores the fines, and returns home, where he scopes out his next restaurant. Although several local eateries have filed a joint criminal complaint attempting to imprison Adis for up to 2 years, this arrest only landed him 42 days in jail due to 2 unpaid fines. Did anyone else get hungry during that story? I don't know about you, but I could go for a petty misdemeanor right now, and maybe Spain is the place to do it. El Gastrojeta has been caught multiple times and still has a chance to pull his 21st job before 2024. I know most of our stories end with one mistake that stops a criminal or a single act that goes unsolved, but I can't help but feel like this is still an early chapter in the story of El Gastrojeta. If the first 19 times didn't stop his reign of terror, I'm inclined to believe the 20th won't work either. So even though our story ends with an arrest, I'm going to wait the rest of his 40-day sentence and consider him at large. Because people gotta eat. Whether it's a handcrafted seafood paella or a big greasy crime sandwich, we will always be a slave to our hunger.
Did I miss when you said how old this guy was?
50 years old.
50. Okay. So he's a mature man.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me he did this 20 times in 1 year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
One thing I kind of kept out of this was that I don't know if he's a really smart kind of guy or if he's like a kind of a bumbling dummy.
Yeah.
But they said that he makes himself look like the perfect Russian tourist because he's a Lithuanian man.
Okay.
He's living in Spain, and they said that he doesn't really speak the language that well. So I don't know if he's a guy who's just kind of dopey and he's just scamming people, or is he like so smart and collected that he just knows how to, not get the accent right and get the words all wrong and play stupid.
Yeah.
So I didn't even really use either of those sides because obviously he feels compelled to continue doing it.
Also, he has to at least be manipulative and thoughtful enough that he keeps trying to trick people with a fake heart attack, too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that's what it is. I don't know if all 20 times were heart attacks because they said that he tries to just dine and dash, but there are for sure multiple heart attacks that he's faked.
That's embarrassing.
So I don't know what the system's like over there. That's so many unknowns. But one of the articles I read was, are the ambulance bills cheaper than the restaurant bills? I don't know. Does Spain have a free ambulance? I don't know.
There have been times where I fantasized about living in different countries, and I actually think they have a really good healthcare system over there. So maybe it's worth it to him that he's like, I'm not going to get charged. I'm not going to get a big fee. I'm going to go have a nice meal, and there's nothing these restaurants can do. I mean, that's super rude, but he probably feels like the consequences aren't that big of a deal to him.
Yeah, that was the thing too. It's like, are you so smart that you play the system, or are you just dumb that you're not afraid to get? Because I don't care if you're smart, but I would like to think that I'm a decently intelligent person.
Yeah.
I don't want to go spend 8 days in jail to not pay a $30 bill.
Right.
Is it that much of a game? Do you really have nothing going on? That's why I literally cannot decide, is this guy stupid or smart?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I could argue both sides. Honestly, this could be a good debate topic.
Yeah.
He's silly enough to keep doing it in the same area. So it's like, duh, people are catching on. But he's obviously doing something right. He's getting good food. Yeah, he's having to do a couple nights in jail, but I don't know. Maybe he doesn't really mind.
He values that money on the bill, but he doesn't value his time.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
That is really interesting.
But there's a picture online of him actually laying on the floor because I think he was just laying there struggling and somebody just put a camera in his face and took a picture. So he's like laying on the ground kind of squinting, looking up, and that's one of the pictures I have online of him.
No way. That is even more embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. If you're known around town, like there's the guy and oh God.
I was having a hard time writing this story as far as like what to do. And oh my God, can I just say that this might have been the most disjointed story recording I've ever had with you because of all the voices I had to keep switching back and forth with.
Yeah, you did.
I'd have to do a certain level of acting and then the voice and then the writing was just a little different. And
yeah.
My God. But yeah, him talking to his hunger, I was kind of going for a little bit of a Dexter Morgan sort of Mr. Brooks. Do you remember the old movie Mr. Brooks? It's not that old, but like early 2000s. Dane Cook was in it, and I think it was like John Hurt and somebody else, but it was basically like this serial killer guy. He's like, I gotta kill again. It's just like Dexter. In that movie, he had an actual split personality that hung out with him and talked to him. Was like, we gotta kill somebody tonight. So I was thinking his hunger, his hunger for more, his hunger for decadence.
I totally got that vibe from you. So you nailed that. What is really funny and just kind of shows where my life is and the type of shit that I watch on a regular basis. But when you said that, it immediately made me think of this little Disney Plus animated short that Lila and I love watching. It's about this man and all of his organs in his body all have little faces and personalities and stuff. The stomach, when he sees people eating waffles by the ocean, it's like, oh, come on, take me over to the waffles. It's actually a really, really cute one. I wish I knew the name off the top of my head, but
I bet we got some moms listening that know what you're talking about.
Yes, but we watch it all the time and his organs are talking to him. So when you were talking about the hunger, that's what that made me think of.
That's one thing I love about our dynamic is you and I can see things and I can be like, oh, this is all like John Carpenter with Halloween. And you're like, this reminds me of Paw Patrol when they did this. And I'm like, well, you know what? We got a little bit for everybody. Somebody's going to be able to connect here.
Honest to God. Well, that was a really interesting story. I feel like both of our stories this week were kind of, I don't know, just like slightly different than kind of like you were saying, like the writing was just slightly different for you. My storytelling had some funky little things I don't usually do in it. It's just been a time of rediscovery and creativity. I
feel like I just recap all the time why I love our show, but I do love that about the stories thing is like we can do as many big creative swings as we want because, it's kind of like the Twilight Zone or a Black Mirror. Each story is not connected and we can do whatever the fuck we want with it.
Exactly.
And if nobody likes that one, I'm not going to do the same thing tomorrow or next week.
Yeah. I did have a few connections. So I'm curious if one of these was yours. So kind of like I told you, I interrupted you when you were reading, but I said we both talked about breaking the bank. That was like a phrase we both said.
Which I didn't catch that, but that's nuts.
Yeah. And then they both took place in October of this month and this year, the exact month and year. And both of them were men avoiding their bills.
I was just going to say heavy emphasis on money, but yeah, took it a little bit further. Men trying to cut down how much they owed. Yeah.
And obviously your guys' bills were like $36 and my guys was a hypothetical 1.4 mil.
Yeah, very different in that sense.
But they're both trying to be like, no, get me out of paying this. And you know what? I get it. Things are expensive.
In this economy.
Oh my God. Well, I hope that everyone is having the best week. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to get that money.
Money. Bye.
See ya.
If you guys learned something new about Sean Penn this episode, us too. Thanks for listening.
And do you have a really cool car too? Don't share it with us on social media, but you can talk about other stuff. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Threads. Live, Laugh, Larceny.
And have you ever terrified your children with your Halloween face paint? Oh my God, I can't be the only one. Please send us your stories, livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
And give us reviews similar to El Gastrojeta's restaurant choices. 5-star only. Give us reviews on Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods. Or take it easy with his spending. A new tourist would walk by, prepared to go all... A new terrorist would walk... Terrorist? God damn it.
Please, no new terrorists.
Oh, I need to learn how to read.